Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is now Wednesday, August 21st, 2019. I'll be fairly brief today, considering that we do have a lot going on, well, sort of, because eventually we're going to have a lot to really talk about, and I don't want to bore you too much. So let's just get right on with it. A quick stop at the National Hurricane Center site in the Atlantic Basin. A couple of areas to watch. This one in the Bahamas. I talked about this yesterday. Here, of course, now Tropical Storm Chantal, and this went from 10% development chances yesterday to, well, now it's Tropical Storm Chantal. What it did briefly, remember it formed from energy over land and meandered out here, got over the Gulf Stream. Generally speaking, those warm waters helped it to sustain convection, and there you go. It is a small tropical storm. It does count. It does matter. Some people kind of bellyache about naming systems way out there. I mean, just look at a satellite image of it. I'll show you in a moment. And consider, too, it's not just about land areas that we're concerned about. Think about all the shipping interests that are up and through this region, from the sword boats that come out of Gloucester and elsewhere. You know, if you know that story about the perfect storm, the book from Sebastian Junger and the movie made about it, you know, the sword boats to long haul shipping interests, etc. These tropical cyclones matter. They do. You know, they can cause problems, and so they need to be advised about, advisories written about them, and the National Hurricane Center's area of responsibility covers that part of the North Atlantic. All right, in the Pacific, we now have Tropical Depression 10E, and if we look down here, click on the forecast for it, there you go, forecast to briefly become a hurricane well off the coast of the Baja Peninsula. So there might be some surf that comes out from this. I'm trying to talk faster than I can think. The swells that would emanate out from this may reach the Baja Peninsula, which would be nice for any surfing interests. And that should be about it. I don't see that this will be coming up and impacting the Baja directly. Certainly not Cabo San Lucas, to be specific about a popular resort area. No worries from that there. Going out farther to the west in the Central Pacific, nothing to be concerned with here just yet. All right, so looking at the satellite animation here, there's Chantal, and it's a very small system. It's being sheared. Upper level winds are strong coming out of the west, blowing the thunderstorms away from the low level circulation. But every once in a while you get these bursts of convection or thunderstorms that come up and around that center. It's a very well defined center, and it, like I said, it matters. Okay, there's boats and ships that go through here, and these tropical storms can be problematic, so there you go. All right, TD10E in the Eastern Pacific. This is 97L or E97E that would eventually perhaps try to develop into something. But this is a very large system. If it can ever consolidate as it moves off in this direction, it could become quite a formidable hurricane, maybe stronger than what the Hurricane Center is indicating. We'll have to wait and see about that. In the Gulf, a little bit of a slug of moisture in here, but there's an upper level low spinning down here, and overall conditions not very favorable, but it looks like some additional moisture could get flung into the northwest Gulf, and that energy source, the vorticity in the atmosphere, the energy source as it were, the heat source and all that precipitable water could easily translate to very heavy rain for some places along the Gulf Coast. So heads up in Houston, Beaumont, Port Arthur, Lake Charles, and those areas. Just keep an eye on this. Not so much as a wind or surge event, you know, that it would develop into a tropical cyclone, but it could bring a lot of heavy rain. And we know, coming up on the 2-year anniversary of a very specific heavy rain event, Harvey, we know that heavy rain and, as an example, Houston don't mix very well. All right? So looking out towards the eastern Atlantic, again, there's Chantal. Here's the system in the Bahamas. This will be very slow to develop, if it develops at all. A lot of energy now trying to get itself together off the coast of Africa. We'll have to see. You know, we've looked at these 200 millibar velocity anomaly charts from Ben Knoll, etc., that the Euro showing, the UK Met, the JMA, etc., we know that it's coming. And just keep in mind, a couple things just to point out. It's only August 21st. We still have 10 days in the month. And we watch this every day, right? We've talked about this before. You think about, as I mentioned once before, the Weather Channel, they do their tropical update at 10 minutes before the hour. That's every hour. Imagine me coming on and doing this live every hour, or even a recorded live every hour. I mean, come on, there's only so much you can talk about. We watch this all the time. It's going to take time for things to change, and I do believe we're going to have a backloaded, very busy season, September into October. I still believe that. There's nothing to convince me otherwise as of yet. It's like a free throw shooter, and I know, here we go, normally makes 9 out of 10, but he's on a dry spell where he's missed 3 in a row. Well, he's eventually going to get back on that hot streak. You just know he is. It's different than somebody like Shaquille O'Neal or somebody that never hit free throws worth a darn. Right? You get what I'm saying. The situation will be so that the tropical Atlantic is going to become favorable before you know it. And we're already seeing the signs of that, to some extent. So use the time wisely while it's quiet to make sure you are ready for when it's not quiet. That's my best advice. So what do we look for? Again, satellite imagery, this is helpful. But underneath those clouds, what does it look like underneath the hood, so to speak? Vorticity. In this part of the atmosphere, 5,000 feet up, the 850 millibar vorticity signature is my favorite structural examination of what systems look like. And there's TD10 in the Eastern Pacific, right there. TD number 10. There's Chantal. And you know what? Let me use the color white just to separate all this a little better. There's Chantal. There's TD10 in the Pacific. And here's your discombobulated, much less energetic vorticity, or it's actually relative vorticity, the spin in the atmosphere. And also, it's not just vertical, but you're really thinking about, you look at hurricanes, they spin, and you can look at them through the vertical, but think about horizontal vorticity, the air turning as it's moving because of the Coriolis force. And there's a lot of other physical ways to look at it. This doesn't show much vorticity. There's some, but not much. Same thing with the system over here. And a lot of energy sitting out over the tropics. But what these tropical cyclones need to be able to do to become tropical cyclones is to take that energy that's spread out, you see that down there, and bundle it. And that's why you see with the case of TD10 here, it's round. It's conserving that angular momentum, like a skater pulling in their arms and they spin faster. Same kind of principle here. Chantal, smaller, but there it is. It's bundled that energy, and there it is over the North Atlantic. There's an energy there nonetheless. This hasn't done so yet. It's all spread out. So that's what I like to look for. Are we starting to bundle it together and get that rounded, even teardrop appearance? And the question remains unanswered. Well, to some extent, the answer could be no, not yet. And it's just a matter of time. So we will examine this more and more going down the road, especially for this system over here, and to some extent the system coming in through the Yucatan Channel. That's the area between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula there, into the Gulf. We'll see how this shapes up. Because even if you get like more of this shape in here to the Gulf, that's just more energy in the atmosphere, and it could wring out a lot of moisture when it rains. I'll show you, trust me. Alright, so models. We like to look at the models. Let's look at the ECMWF. Again, the vorticity signature here. This is the Eastern Pacific, and we'll switch back over to blue. There's the signature, the bundling of TD number 10. But look at that large area of influence in the atmosphere as it's trying to curl up that energy. And you can see this simulated in the model here, but in real life here. This is what it looks like for real. This is so cool. There's the center of vorticity. there's all that extra energy trying to get into that center and feed it. That's the real world satellite picture. That's what it looks like in the model. So let's advance it. That's the initial map. 24 hours, 48, 72, 96. It does a pretty good job of bundling that energy, so it's likely to become a hurricane, but stay off the Baja. So there you go. You notice as well, if we go back to that initial, there's the initial. Now look over here. Little bit of energy in the vicinity of the Yucatan. Does it do much? 24 hours out? No, not really. Just some pretty stout southerly flow surging all that moisture. I'll draw a big arrowhead there into the Gulf states, from the Gulf, but nothing. There's a little bit more there, a little bit more yellow, slight uptick right there, which shows me that there will be clouds, showers, and storms. But look at the difference between this and this. Yeah, that's bundled. That's not so much bundled. All right. So, but that is showing me a little bit more energy and perhaps some more rainfall 72 hours out. It lingers along the Gulf Coast at day 4, and maybe a little bit more of an impulse of it inland now over Alabama and the I-10 corridor through here. So that's the takeaway to this, just to sum it up. This energy coming up through the Gulf, I'll go back to the satellite loop just for a second. This energy should end up here and then spread along the I-10 corridor and bring you heavy rain. All right? So there will be some impacts from a tropical system, just not a tropical storm or a hurricane, it looks like. You understand? Good. As long as we're all on the same page. In the Atlantic, same kind of thing. There's the energy we're looking for in the Bahamas. It's a little bit of a kink in the flow here, another tropical wave. A little bit of energy there with that system. So let's move this out over time. This is the initial. Here's Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning. So again, showers and thunderstorms, squally weather for the northwest Bahamas into Florida Peninsula, lightning, storms, storms and lightning, thunderstorms, what I'm trying to say, gusty winds, whatever. And there's just a little bit of broad rotation maybe sitting in here. That's about it. The model really not that aggressive. A front obviously is coming down. This maybe merges with it. So unsettled weather along the southeast coast. Not much more than that. This is 96 hours. That's 120. There's day 6. It tries to consolidate a little bit more well off the coast of Cape Hatteras. And finally by day 7, not much else to even worry about. Another quick look at a different model. This is the text output from the UK Met, just to kind of show you different things here. New tropical storm forecast to develop in about 5 days there. That's the 108 hours. About 5 days. Where? Your lat long? 29.4. So almost the latitude of Jacksonville, Florida. 79.5 west. Almost the longitude of Jacksonville, Florida. So just to show you, the UK Met suggesting development right about there in about 5 days, and it moves up along the coast, something like that. I know my lat long, so that's how I know all that. And you should too. 35 and 75.5, that's practically up near Rodanthe or Cape Hatteras as a moderate tropical storm. So this global model, the UK Met, suggesting development in a few days. So this gives us something to watch. All right? That's about it. Nothing to worry about, nothing to cancel plans to vacation about, and nothing to be in a panic about. None of those things. Watch it? Yes. Speaking of watching, do want to promote this from time to time because it's my hallmark product, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of my documentary. It's my baby, outside of my real babies, my 7 kids. This thing is fantastic. I think you'll really like it. It's on Amazon Prime. You see right there the title, Tracking the Hurricanes 2018. Search for that. Also, the 2017 edition is there as well, and that's included with Prime. For this particular one, the 28 edition, 28? I hope so. 2018 edition. I'd love to still be doing these in 2028. The 2018 edition is available to rent or purchase and it helps with the funding, and we call that crowdfunding. And think about it. All of you that are out there that have devices that are watching this YouTube video, you can watch this video as well. And it's just $4 to rent, $13 to purchase and own it forever. And it'll really amaze you. And it tells you the story of how we did the unmanned camera project over the last 14, 15 years, all the way through remarkable Hurricane Florence and Michael, unprecedented video, and the stories behind it all. I think you'll be touched. And I do the music for it as well. So there's that. If you like good film music for a documentary, I think I did a pretty good job. And thanks to everybody who has rented and purchased it. It's going to make a difference later on as I'm able to fund what I do. And I appreciate that very much. That comes from right here, my heart. So we'll keep an eye on all these things. Again, nothing pressing, so don't get too nervous about it. It's the last third of August. Things are supposed to start getting busy, and they are gradually doing so. I'll keep you up to date on it the best that I can. All right? All right. Have a great rest of your Wednesday afternoon. Thanks, as always, for tuning in from whatever device you're doing so from. I greatly appreciate your time and attention. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.